This is Imperative, a tactical RTS where firefights aren't won in seconds, they're won through suppression, maneuver, and the weight of every decision you make as a commander. Hi, my name's Chris, aka Suits, and this is my solo game development with Unreal Engine 5. This devlog is an overview update of my game Imperative. So what is Imperative? Imperative is a sandbox tactical RTS infantry focused with no base building. You command a special forces platoon through procedurally generated operations in a fictional conflict inspired by Afghanistan-era warfare. Think the tactical depth of armour meets the command weight of Jagged Alliance, played from an RTS perspective. The game is built around 5 core pillars. Pillar 1, authentic milsim combat, realistic ballistics, suppression, and damage modelling. Firefights are prolonged, you establish fire superiority, and then you manoeuvre to exploit it. There's no clicking on enemies and watching health bars drain. Pillar 2 is persistent consequences. Your operators gain experience and carry injuries. If you lose a veteran soldier, that's not just a respawn timer for him, that's his progression gone and that unit out of the game. Pillar 3 is tactical freedom. You receive an objective or objectives, but how you approach them is totally your call. You insert from any direction, plan your own route, and choose your engagement. Pillar 4 is dynamic operations. Missions are procedurally generated. Firefights ebb and flow across the contested terrain. Your enemy has objectives and priorities of their own and will behave differently based on its commander's decisions. And Pillar 5 is strategic depth. Between missions, you manage your roster, develop operator specializations, and unlock commander and team tactics. Your force, your platoon, evolves based on what they actually do in the field and what you build them out to be. I've wanted to make this game for years. There are great tactical first-person shooters like Arma and Ready or Not, and there's some great tactical strategy games like Door Kickers, XCOM, Jagged Alliance, but there's a gap between them for RTS milsim type game. I wanted a game where you feel the weight of commanding a platoon through a real firefight, an immersive experience where the tactics actually matter, and also where your operators, they have names, their meaning and history. You generally don't want to lose any of your operators, and definitely not any type of core loop where click the enemy to attack and their health bar drains down. I really want it to be establish fire superiority, maneuver, use the terrain, use tactics, and gain the advantage and outwit the enemy. As far as I know, a game like that doesn't exist yet, so I'm building it. The real reason for my temporary departure from developing Imperative was so I could skill up. I spent 12 months developing systems with Unreal's Mass Entity Component System Framework, ECS system. So that journey began when I encountered performance issues early in my original build of Imperative. So this new build under the hood doesn't use any traditional Unreal actors for its units. Technically it does when you zoom in and you're up close, so you need that sort of detail for animations and stuff. But the new build is from scratch using data-orientated design for everything. So every piece of simulation is lightweight processors that handle a particular aspect of the game. And so why does all this matter? And there's two main reasons. The first obviously is performance, which I touched on, but the traditional actor-based RTS hits a wall pretty fast in Unreal, from my experience. You're running full actor ticks, full collision, full component overhead on every single unit. You just can't have a lot of units, and that's one of the main features of an RTS, really. So Mass Entity lets me simulate dozens of operators, hundreds of projectiles, suppression calculations, morale updates, ballistic traces and collisions, all in bulk every frame. And that's where the second part comes in, and that's the architecture. So all of those systems I just mentioned, ballistic suppression, morale, the fire control and damage, it's its own processor operating on its own set of data fragments, and they're cleanly separated. So something like suppression doesn't know about ballistics, and morale doesn't know about cover. They just read and write to shared data in an entity, and the simulation emerges from that interaction. And this is all processed much more efficiently than standard actor-based systems. It's not the easiest framework to work with. The documentation is thin, and you've got to build a lot of the infrastructure yourself. But for a game that needs to simulate a real firefight at this level of detail, I think it's the right call, and I'm seeing really good results early in this new build. But with every tech decision, there is a downside. I really want to have co-op play in the game, but I may have to either scrap it or develop it at a later stage. The multiplayer in Mass Entity is completely undocumented and definitely not implemented in any way. So it's a create from scratch task that potentially could be outdated in the short term with updates that Unreal are working on now. So there's a hint that some multiplayer stuff is coming in 5.8. So I don't really want to spend all the time to create a multiplayer from scratch just to have it outdated next month. I don't know. But anyway, just on the intent and the plan going forward, I do intend to build a grey box prototype with full systems implemented, and then use this build to test and develop the core systems of the game. The command and control, combat, mission handling, character experience, enemy AI, and even the UI interfaces roughly. Whereas before I was trying to get art in and make it look fancy for videos. So you might not see any fancy looking videos for a while, but there's a reason behind that. So once there's a solid playable experience, I'll be adding assets as I go with the intent of producing a playable demo. My target is Q2 2027. Probably, I'm hoping that's at the latest, so if I can get it earlier, that'd be great. So that's Imperative, or an overview. A tactical RTS where the firefight is the game, not a cutscene, not a dice roll, but a real simulation you have to think your way through. If this is the kind of game you've been waiting for, you can support me on Patreon, subscribe to YouTube, join me on Discord, and sign up for the Devlog updates if you want to see some updates a bit earlier. I'll be covering the game features and mechanics in more detail in future devlogs. I hope to see you along for the ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.